but I do think we should not have major meetings or qualifying rounds at the same time as some of their bigger meetings. Let's have a domestic meeting over here so that drivers and fans who want to go to Holland can do so again.
Well, hopefully we'll see. Hopefully, sense will prevail on these things, because but you just don't know, do you? Really? Yeah. It's like, Ian's looking. He's a bit tight with it. I know. I can see. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm sure.
Following on from the last one, the surprise package of next season, I understand Captain Chaos is going to make a return. So maybe he's going to be the surprise package and threaten Tom for the wee titles.
Yeah, but the thing they will find, a bit of a shock for them all down there, because it's on military land. There's no bar, no alcohol.
No. Is that right?
But I'm not saying I was, straight with the days long, but there's a few times I nearly had to go to the NSA court because I throttled Rob Collard in his car, tried to put me thumb inside. Yeah, I was just stupid thing because nearly broke my rib. He punched me in the ribs in a driver's with all disrespect, until you start it up, it doesn't look that special. And as soon as it fires up and fires into life, and you watch them, I watched the BriSCA guy going at it before our race, and I was like, what is? I couldn't get my breath how they drove. The boys and girls was just unreal.
Hi everyone, Neil Randon here with the Talking Stox podcast, along with Ian Higgins and Colin Casserley on the show. We've got a special guest in Paul O'Neill, who will join us in the second part of this two-parter. One thing I would ask before we start, however, is I'm after a bit of a favour. Could you press the subscribe button if you like the show? It would make our job so much better, because we know we can improve the podcast going forward, and the more subscribers we get, the better the show will be. So if you could just press that subscribe button, that would make our day. Thank you very much. Welcome everyone to the Talking Stox podcast with me, your host Neil Randon, and as always Ian Higgins and Colin Casserley. Well, I think we're all looking forward to this one. This is not only we'll be discussing all the things BriSCA F1. We've got a prize giveaway as well halfway through the podcast, but also we've got a special guest who will be joining us in the second half, and that is Paul O'Neill, who is ITV commentator and British Touring Car star of the past, and he took part in the British Touring Car Invitational event at Skegness, and we're going to be chatting to him about that a bit later, so that should be good. Okay, so without further ado, as I often say, we shall go straight into the discussion points that we've got for this session, and here we are. So, more Talking Stox topics. In part one, we've got the fixture list. What do we think of it? Number two is, like the shootout, does the World Championship need a revamp? A lot of people think maybe it does. Three, what do we think of the Autosport Show and Motorsport with Attitude? The shows, those are both coming up next month and the month after. So are they good for the sport? Four is who we think might be the surprise package of 2024. And with Tom Harris being so dominant for the past 12 months, who do we think will be his main rivals? So why don't we start with the fixture list, and what do we think of it? Right, Colin, I'll start off with you.
Well, the fixture list there's always going to be pros and cons with a fixture list. Not everybody's going to agree with it. There's always people going to disagree and agree with some of it. Basically, it's fairly predictable, bit of a vanilla fixture list, if you like, but I think you have to support your bread and butter tracks, which they have done. I like the ideas of the double headers. I think that helps the fans and the drivers get two meetings in for a weekend without having too much travelling. I like the fact that Aldershot's on the list, not because that's a local track for me, but I haven't been there yet to the new one. I've been to the old one plenty of times, but not to the new one. And I like the idea that Skegness is having the 3-day meeting for the World Final. Yeah. I do hope on the Friday they have some Formula Ones on, though, because I think it's especially for the New Zealand guys who are coming over, gives them a chance to acclimatise to the cars. We don't have a meeting the week before, so running in straight into the World Final on tarmac is going to be a bit tough for them. I've been to New Zealand where they've actually put meetings on for our guys so they can get used to their cars before they go into like the World 240s or the team. So I think it'd be nice to do that. On the other side, on the con side, there's always going to be a downside. I think, first of all, that there's no Scotland on the list. I think the fans like it, the drivers like it. I like it. I like going up there. I can understand that there's a congested fixture list at the minute. I don't know the politics behind it, whether promoters have to give up dates. That shouldn't be the case. They should run their normal meetings down here, and we should squeeze in somewhere a couple of meetings up to Scotland, because I think it's a good trip for everybody. It gets everybody enthused about the season. Sometimes when it, like I say, it's a bit vanilla, you can get a little bit bored with the season, and having something to look forward to is a bit like going on holiday. It's something to talk about before you go, enjoy it while you're there, and talk about it when you come back. And it encourages people to go to meetings down here. The other thing, another con is the way the fixtures have fallen against some of the bigger Dutch meetings. Now, not everybody's going to go to Holland. I understand that. Not everybody wants to go, and we shouldn't just not have meetings here just because they've got meetings over there. But I do think we should not have major meetings or qualifying rounds at the same time as some of their bigger meetings. Let's have a domestic meeting over here so that drivers and fans who want to go to Holland can do so. Again, by going to Holland, it actually invigorates people for the meetings here. And let's be honest, that they brought 60 cars over for the World Final. And when we go over there, it's, apart from, say, Venray, most of the time it's 4 or 5 cars. When I first started going to Holland with Skota back in the 70s, Les Eaton Speedworth insisted that 3 drivers went every meeting, no matter what was on over here. So I think it would be nice just to pay them back a little bit by saying, we'll have meetings over here, but we won't have like qualifying rounds that might take drivers away who want to go. And that's how I see the fixtures.
Well said. Well said. What do you think, Ian? You agree with some of that?
I
would have thought.
Not a million miles away. I think it's good to see a couple of the 2-dayers. Bradford have got, obviously, or for us up here, Odsel, they've got they've got a couple of them. We did one last year up there. It was very good. Obviously, Kings Lynn having one, I think that's going to be something. With what Colin was saying about the Friday night, I sort of understand. I understand what he's saying about that with the World Final as well. Whether they might end up running the time trials on the Friday to take time off the Saturday, I don't know, but we'll have to wait and see. The Scotland scenario, you pretty much hit it on the head, Colin. There is promoters have to give up dates to accommodate going up to Scotland, I believe. So just nothing was sorted this year. As far as your thing with the Holland, my scenario on that is if you've got, for instance, I mean, I'm going to Texel for the first time. I've never been before. So I'm going to go to Texel this year. Now, maybe you don't have it as a blank weekend, but because it's a shale track, I've tarmac meeting over here. And, not necessarily keeping it blank. I would, I see it from both sides. The problem is, you see, again, you've got this BriSCA scenario. Texel aren't technically part of the Dutch BriSCA, so to speak. So a lot of politics involved, but I don't think you necessarily have to have a totally blank weekend for Texel or a couple of the other bigger Dutch dates. But if it's a shale one over there, don't run a shale over here and let the shale drivers go. Or don't hold a world qualifier or a Grand Prix round or whatever.
Yeah.
Just
as
Colin said, pretty
domestic
much
meeting.
Domestic. Aldershot, I think, is going to be very interesting for the F1s. We've raced there quite a lot in the karts and that. Colin, you need to be at the end, which is turn 3 and 4, mate, because there's a jump just as they come out by the pit gate, and that's where the action is. It goes off camber.
Let me note that one down. I'll put that on my list there.
Right.
Yeah. Make sure Tully's at the other end. But the thing they will find a bit of a shock for them all down there, because it's on military land. There's no bar, no alcohol.
No, is that right? I never knew that. Of course, yeah. All that area, of course, it is all military around that way. So yeah.
Yeah. So, but
town, isn't it?
no, I don't think it's an overly bad fixture list. They've tried to do things where you've got a Buxton Hennesford weekend. They're not too far apart.
That makes sense.
Like I said, a couple of the double headers. But the double headers thing is not bad for the drivers, but for some fans, it becomes quite expensive because it's then, well, are you getting a hotel? So realistically, they might have just gone for one meeting. Now they're going, it's instead of just 25 quid per person for the one meeting, it's now going to be 50 quid because they're doing 2. Then it's 90 quid for a hotel or whatever.
Unless they're camping during the summer.
They can stop in the transporters and that. But, I mean,
good point.
Spectators' point of view, I still think it's a good thing because they all just sort of enjoy themselves and get in the bar. But I think the promoters realise that next year, I think they've realised it's going to be a hard year, and I think this is why they've tried to do these double headers, etc.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that sounds exactly what it is. I mean, it's going to be cost effective for everyone, drivers, fans, and whatever. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously, like you said, people got to stay over. Like if you go to Skegness for the shootout double header, you're not going to be camping that weekend, particularly if it's pouring rain in the end of October. You're going to want to go to a hotel, so that makes things a bit more difficult. But during the summer, it's obviously easier if you can camp at the site. But yeah, I think it's a more sensible fixture list, in as much as, like I say, they've got all these double headers now. The Buxton Hennesford makes sense, and having that does definitely help. And I think also the other pro, like we all said, Aldershot, which is my local track now. So it is, well, I say now, it always has been until about after Wimbledon, because it's actually just down the road and about 45 minutes away. So that's good. And I've not been there yet either, the new one. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. And so I think that's a welcome addition. You've got Bradford.
I think maybe that. Sorry to interrupt there. That they should have actually just set aside a weekend for an away day for tracks you don't normally go to. Like one year you go to Scotland, the next year you might go down to Bristol or Yarmouth and just have that as a free weekend where it moves from different areas of the country. Yeah,
that's a good, very good point. Yeah, no, I'm glad to see Bradford's got the British again, because obviously it needs a big event each year, really. I think, I mean, the shootout it has, but that, as we know, hasn't always drawn the crowd particularly. Though I do like the fact they sort of listen to what people have been saying about the shootout. We said in our last podcast that it needed a revamp, and that's exactly what they've actually done by the look of it. They've gone for this sort of Champions League football idea with sort of like 4 groups of 4. I think that's what it is, isn't it? For the first stage of the 3-stage shootout. So it's going to be split into 3, and it sounds a bit complicated. I'm sure they've got to try and streamline it to make so people can understand it. But it means it's more of an elimination process, which we need for it, really, so that we get to the last event, and there's 4 guys going, or 4 drivers, should I say, going for the championship and the title, and that's what we need. We needed that changing. It looks like that's what they've done.
Yeah, definitely needs changing. I haven't seen the format. I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
as long as it's kept simple. I mean, I'll go to watch stock cars, and I'm not there to be on
get your calculator out and whatever.
I'm not there for the Krypton factor or anything like that. I'm just there to see a stock car. So as long as it's simple and I can follow it, then a change is needed, and let's see how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. The only other thing I was going to mention was I do feel that we don't start the season with much of a bang. I've said this a few times before, written about it on my blog as well. You know, in the past, traditionally, you would the commentary was always sort of regarded as the start of the season, even though there'd been a meeting the weekend before, 2 weekends before, and that was like the big the big kickoff, if you like, for the season. New cars and etc. etc. It's always very exciting. And Kings Lynn did, I think 2 or 3 years ago, or 3 or 4 years ago, had a really good opening event where there were people queuing up to get in. But since then, it's sort of a bit of a not a damp squid, but it just doesn't have people aren't excited about the first meeting. Not as much as they should be. If in my view, there should be a big event connected with it. I mean, I was even suggesting, as I think I wrote in the Bradford program, the shootout finale. Why not have the Grand National Championship carried over into as the first big event on for the opening meeting of the following season? I know it sounds a little bit weird, but I just feel it should have a bigger impact than it does, because we have Kings Lynn, then we got Northampton. That's another sort of run of the mill, if you like to put it that way, meeting. Then we've got Skegness, which is the usual traditional Good Friday meeting, but nothing nothing sort of important around that, apart from the fact it's Skegness, nobody loves going there. But I just feel that it should be a little bit more to it. I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you look at NASCAR, the Daytona 500, their biggest race is their first race of the season.
Yeah, it's exactly what I think. I just think you got Daytona 500 as their big one. That keeps the momentum going for the rest of the season. That's what I think. Yeah, definitely.
Right, I agree with you. I think something like that, or you even do your first 4 meetings. There's a mini series with extra funding on it or something.
Exactly. Something like that. Lines. Yeah, just something to just create a little bit more of a, I don't know, a bit more of a buzz about it, because it's just we do this same thing over and over again, and it does just to build the momentum, which is what is really important, really, with any sort of series of any motorsport.
Double world qualifying points.
You what?
Double world qualifying points at the first meeting.
Absolutely. No, that would be. I think I might have even suggested that, something along those lines before. Yeah, it's just something, or like whoever wins the final at that opening meeting gets locked into the world semi-final. Automatically he's got a place in the semi-final. So it could even get more white. Lower graders get involved because if they got. They've got a chance. Something like that might be worth.
I like that one. I like that idea. Sort of wild card straight in. Yeah.
Why not? And it doesn't mean they can't improve their slot if they, just means that they have that. If they end up with more points, than their grid position for the world semi-final, that means that they can still move up the gridded order. But at least it means, if they do have a lot of trouble getting there, they're reassured of the fact they've actually got the slot. So that's what I would.
I just adding on to that, I was reading something today that Jacques Villeneuve was saying about sports and Formula One Grand Prix, that in order for sports to survive, they need to become more of a show and more of entertainment. And just having a meeting where, this is the first meeting of the season, open the gates, let's go racing. Probably doesn't cut. It might cut it in the 70s, but it probably needs a bit more oomph now, a bit more showmanship, and let's get the season going with a bang.
Yeah. Draw new people in. There's any way to try and do it, I think. Okay. So leading from that, my second point, like shootout, does the World Championship itself need a revamp? What do we think about that?
Go on. I wouldn't say the World Final itself. There's maybe little tweaks somewhere along the way, like you mentioned there, locking somebody in for a semi-final. I do like the semi-final, the 2 semis, and then a consolation semi, and then it's all on the one big race. I like the build up to it. The qualifiers. A lot of the lower graders are sort of they do those qualifiers. They're trying to get into the back row of a semi-final. You know, desperate to get into the top tens. I personally don't have a massive issue with the World Final. Whether, I mean, they sort of changed it now, haven't they? Because they have the consolation semi-final. You know, it used to be a separate standalone meeting, but now it's all become part of it. But no, to me, I don't have a major issue with the way the World Final is, to be honest. I've always looked at it. I mean, everybody looks and it's like, oh, it's the world champion, it's the gold. To me, the silver roof is the one that you've worked for all year. You can have a little bit of luck with the gold, you know. God, I mean, I ended up on the front row of a semi-final. You know, if I'd have won, I wasn't a good enough driver to win the World Final and sustain it, if you know what I mean. But that's also a good element about it, because we have had drivers in the past that you wouldn't class them as world champions, but they won it. And good on them, you know.
Absolutely.
So I don't have a major issue with it. So
I don't actually with the actual final itself. The final itself, I think, is fine. I just think it's the build up to it. I mean, I was wondering if we had too many world qualifiers, and should we have world qualifiers that are included with the shootout at the end of the season, and then we have, you know, or is there even another idea I came up with was have not just a semi-final, have quarterfinals, and semi-finals. So you have a mass, you know, a much more of a knockout.
I don't think there's enough drivers, Neil.
Yeah, I was wondering.
That's the problem.
You
need 80 drivers, don't you? That probably would work. Yes, that's the thing. I'm thinking of the good old days. Well, sorry, there was more drivers. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, probably isn't enough. But okay. Well, I mean, you know, what do you think, Colin? Do you think anything needs changing with any of it?
Yeah, well, yes and no. The principle of it is brilliant. I like the idea, as Ian was saying about whites and yellows trying to get into the semi-final. When I went to Sheffield on a Monday night because it was a qualifying round, I can just to try and get some points to get in the semi-final. I didn't make it, but that was my goal for the year, was to try and get in the semi-final. I've got no problem with the qualifying rounds. I think we should have qualifying rounds, but maybe there's an alternative take on it. Is you qualify for the world final meeting. So you have your qualifying rounds.
Good point. I was thinking about that. Yeah.
And then the top 60 go into the world final meeting. You have your two heats of your semi-finals. You have a third heat for the overseas and the New Zealand guys. 2 last chance races. I don't like calling them consolation semi-finals. I don't like the name. Just last chance, win and you're in, and then the world final, and then maybe one race afterwards for anybody who didn't make the world final. And then
that's great. I like that.
It's all condensed into one night.
Look at it if you were a promoter. Your problem is one promoter there is having all the cherry.
I know. It won't even be pleased.
That's where the semi-finals and that it is.
Are they as big a draw as they used to be?
Doing is you'd be putting everything on the world final, which isn't a bad thing, but you know, that means your 2 meetings that would normally be semi-finals would just be now a run-of-the-mill meeting. You know,
Scotland. I take your point. That's a valid point. So you are putting all your eggs in one basket, and say, for instance, there's some pretty poor weather. Your whole world final.
Yeah, you have Sunday. You have Northampton Sunday.
Can you imagine if that happens? God, dear me. That wouldn't be good. I suppose there's too much of an element of risk involved. Perhaps,
I don't think there's too much wrong. I've heard people say that the top, say, 6 qualifying points should be seeded into the world final. I don't think that's right. No, the world final is a knockout thing, and if you don't make your semi, that's tough luck in my opinion. It's a bit like the FA Cup. If you get knocked out. I'm not really keen on a consolation semi-final. I think if you're knocked out in the semi-finals, that's it. That's your season. You know, so
I was thinking about this earlier.
More of an edge to it.
Yeah, well, look at it back in the 70s when Stuart Smith often didn't make the final. He him and Doug Cronshaw 76 didn't get in. And Stuart often, plenty of times failed to get into the final. And, nobody sort of thought that was outrageous. It was just added to the drama, didn't it, at the time?
It did.
And it was just, it just made the whole thing I don't know, made it more exciting, really.
I remember going to the long
more
Eaton
jeopardy. Sorry,
I remember going to the Long Eaton semi-final when Stuart Smith went out with a broken half shaft.
Oh, shaft again.
I was probably at 10 or 11. I think I was matching the newspapers the next day saying Smith out of world final. And it just adds that little edge to it, I think, where there's no second chance. And I'd like that. I can understand why the promoters want the best drivers in it. I can understand why the drivers themselves, or the top drivers, want it so they can get a chance to get in it. But I just like the cut and dry.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just no different from the World Cup in football, is it really? After you've gone through the group stages, it's knockout, and you could have the two best sides in the competition face each other in the quarterfinal. And so one of those doesn't make it. It adds to the excitement. It's the drama of it, the fact that there's going to be winners and losers, and that's what the world final, should be about. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's an interesting discussion. I'm sure a lot of people will be chatting about that. Hopefully, after the podcast is broadcasted, so we'll see where that leads. Right. So, Autosport Show and the Motorsport with Attitude show. Autosport shows on beginning of January, and Motorsport with Attitude in February. What do we think of those two events? So, I'll let Ian go first. What do you think?
The Autosports, obviously, the indoor live, it's a bit of a kudos thing, really, isn't it? But I would actually be interested. It's a shame you never find these things out, but I would actually be interested to know is how many people have actually ever come via the Autosport Show to watch stock car racing, because I would imagine it's very, very few.
I wouldn't think too many.
Yeah. I'm not a massive fan of it. We've done it years ago when Malcolm used to run sort of the oval show side of it. But brilliant have the Formula Ones on in the Thunderdome or whatever they want to call it. Yes, but it's just a lot of bloody money that it's one of the, you sort of feel you've got to keep your name out there. But I don't think the Autosport Show is particularly for us, But yeah, the live action, they're good, they're noisy, so yeah, keep doing that as long as you're invited. The MWA, they've had a rocky going on, really. It's a shame they lost Peterborough. That was, a pretty good place. We did Stafford last year. Not a bad place at all.
It wasn't too bad, was it?
It's more grassroots, which I like. I think and I think the other thing with that is the way that they try and do it is they try and cover as many sports as possible. So I think you've got more chance of somebody who's maybe into, I don't know, go-kart racing on shale coming and watching F1s, rather than somebody who goes to Saudi Arabia to watch F1 Grand Prix. I can't see them coming to King's Lynn to watch per se. So, the MWA, yes. We've had a discussion about this a little bit earlier. I'm concerned about the indoor show. I just, since Colin, I've been to Holland and seen the one they had there, and they had massive fans, massive extraction. You look at what they've got at the NEC for extraction. I just hope they can do it. I personally, we're not taking the Stox carts there this year. We're having a year off. It's a lot of money. Obviously, for as smaller formulas and the grassroots formulas, it's still a lot of money. And I find it difficult because we're not there selling anything per se.
No.
So, we're trying to promote our formula, yes, but it's not like certain people who are there selling, 100 quid
Books.
overalls and this and that, and
Or trying
books.
to.
Yeah, so, and they're coming away with a bit of money. We go there, and it's just all one-way traffic.
Yeah.
And then, so I think it needs everybody's support. But financially for us, we can't do it every year. We've done 3. We're going to give it a miss this year, but I think it is a good grassroots thing. His pricing is not bad. Best of luck to Dave again.
Yeah. What do you reckon, Colin?
Well, there definitely is a need for these shows.
I agree.
The Autosport Show is definitely it's a fantastic idea. It's just too expensive for everybody just to participate in, and to have a stand there, but also to go and watch or just walk around. And if you look at it over the years, it's been going. It's shrunk. Even the like the circuit side of it, that's shrunk dramatically. So definitely a need for that. The way I look at it is that you got to keep the sport in everybody's vision and in everybody's mind.
Yeah.
I mean, Coca-Cola and McDonald's are the 2 biggest companies in the world, yet they're still advertising on television. So it's not a fact. Nobody knew he's going to go and buy McDonald's or Coke because everybody knows about it already. So as far as stock cars going and the shows like this, it's to keep the people interested, keep the fans interested, so that you can go along, you can chat to your mates, you can get your fixture lists, and you can see a few new cars. Keep the sport going and stop people drifting away. Because
that's the important thing.
Half the big companies like McDonald's and that are advertising to people they've already got. So stock cars should be
to keeping them
to keep them going, because if you start drifting away, you don't come back. Now the knock on it is that you're not going to get new fans from it. I think we should give up on that idea. We're going to get new fans from things like this, because that ain't going to happen.
No.
If it was in the 70s, and you had a show in say Stafford, you had Long Eaton, Coventry, Leicester, Northampton, all within half an hour of that show. So anybody new going along could see that and then go to Coventry one week and I like this, I'll go to Leicester the next week. But now our tracks are 2 spread apart. As far as new fans go, the only way you're going to get them is that if somebody lives in, let's say, Kings Lynn, they're going to go along to 2 or 3 Kings Lynn meetings a year. They're probably not going to go to Bradford, and they're not going to go down to Taunton to watch the F2s. They're not going to travel around like we did. No. So we've got to get rid of that idea that by having a show, you're going to get thousands and thousands of new people. We're not. What we've got to do is keep the existing fans on board. And I think shows like this, I think all the tracks, promoters, to formulas should go along. As it's just to keep everyone in the loop and stop them drifting away. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, I think that's right. The thing is, just, you probably get the same people go to the shows every year anyway. So, and apart from there will be a few youngsters who probably are now interested in motorsport who, nag their parents to take them along to the show or whatever. But most of the people there have been already, petrol heads anyway, who go there for their own particular formula, and then they like to see some of the unveilings of cars and there's interviews with drivers and that sort of stuff, which is obviously a big draw for a lot of them. But it's important for BriSCA F1 to have that presence in the live action arena. It's just because it is the best thing in there. The noise is fantastic. They put on a brilliant show every year, and the crowds enjoy watching them. But like we both said, how does that transfer into them actually paying money to go and watch them?
I've actually
Northampton or Skegness, and the chances that's probably not likely.
I've actually met somebody who went to a meeting on the back of going to.
Did they really?
Yeah,
that's interesting. Good. I'm glad to put my theory down.
It does work, and they enjoyed it so much they went along to a meeting. So
that's good.
Yeah, but
what's interesting? Sorry, go on.
Yeah, but they kind of they wanted it to be the same bang 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 impact that the NEC,
which it won't be. No, it definitely won't be. Absolutely, but. Yeah, I think, and I remember one year I went, because when fans can go around behind the scenes at the arena, and BSCD have had stands there with the fixture lists and whatever. And it's interesting because I remember I remember one year, some chap came up and had a look at the fixture list, and he said, "Oh, you got there's a stadium at Stoke. I didn't know that. And I live in Stoke." He didn't know there was a meeting there. But it's like things like that are important. People become aware of where their local tracks are, and it doesn't, we know Rob Speed does a brilliant job of promoting the Skegness around the local area, but if you want to try and spread your wings a bit further around Lincolnshire and maybe into Norfolk or wherever, it's gonna, it takes a bit of work to try and get that awareness. So if they're at an Autosport show, they'll see the fixture list, which is important for them to have a look at. It may actually draw one or two of them along, especially if they enjoy the event and the live action arena. And I'm saying with Motorsport with Attitude, you're going to get inquisitive people come along that maybe haven't seen a lot of this stuff, and there'll be the regular fans. But it's just keeping everybody on board, and you can touch base with people now. People can have a chat with promoters and drivers and whatever. And it just, it's something to do in the close season when you're waiting for the new season to start. It just adds a little bit. I think it's quite important. Yeah, like you say. So we'll go on to speed up a bit here, right. Who's going to be the surprise package of 2024? Have we got a surprise package?
We don't know who's going to be racing yet.
No, we don't, do we?
It's a difficult one. It's a difficult one.
This might be quite short, this question.
Yeah. I mean, a driver I think will come on quite good next year. He's been good this season or last season. Is Jack France. He's fast all the time. He just needs a bit of luck, and I think he could get one or two big wins. Because I thought he'd done really well. He had a bit of bad luck, but I've seen him at Bradford. He flies around there. The Mildenhall semi-final is fantastic round there.
Yeah.
So a bit more luck, a bit more experience of the big races, and I think he'll could spring up surprises.
Yeah, maybe a British champion, maybe in the future. Then, in that case, possibly. Yeah. What about you, Ian? Do you think similarly, or anybody else would like to look up?
I don't think it's going to be much of a surprise. She's not really. Catherine, I still think she's going to come. I think she's still going to show well. Even Kyle as well. I think he's a good little driver.
He is. I absolutely think so.
Finn, whether Finn's going to be a surprise or not, I think because he's won the British. I think there's a lot pinned on him, but I'm not sure who's coming up from the minis this year, or what new drivers. But of the existing ones, I think you've pretty much Jack France is not underrated. I wouldn't say underrated, but he has had some bad luck. And he's a good driver. He's 2 cars at his disposal now. So
I think so. I think he's got huge potential as Jack. I mean, he's a good lad too, and he's showing he's got some pace. I think we're all pretty much well agreed on that.
I mean, young Henry Robson, to be fair,
he's done well. He's done very well. Yeah, he could.
For the number of meetings he's done. So. You never know, do you, until the first couple of meetings, and then somebody jumps out. Could be one of the twins again.
Cool.
But it's
the other thing.
The number of youngsters, the sport is not in a bad position.
No, it's good. No, I agree. We've got some good young drivers coming up through the ranks, and we can see that from under 25s championship races. Some good races in there. The only thing I will say, I mean. I just read this today. I saw some Facebook message about something about Catherine. I'm not sure what that was about. And then I see that there's an inquiry as to there's a disciplinary hearing or something regarding the Catherine's team and the Jack Witt's team following events at Skegness at the Gala meeting. So I'm hoping that doesn't end up having consequences for either of them, going forward. Particularly Catherine, because she's sort of full-time F1 stock car driver. It'd be a crying shame if that affected her season for events out of her control. But hopefully we'll see. Hopefully sense will prevail on these things, because but you just don't know, do you? Really?
No.
Yeah. Ian's looking. He was visibly tight-lipped. I know. I can see. Yeah. So I'm sure. Well, we'll hear more in the future in the coming weeks what's happening there. But hopefully she'll be back and she'll win a major next year. That will be fantastic for the sport as well as for. To be honest, we need a top class woman driver winning stuff. It'd be magnificent that way. Yeah. Okay. So our final topic before the break is, who's Tom Harris's main rival going to be this next year, if he has one?
Well, following on from the last one, the surprise package of next season, I understand Captain Chaos is going to make a return. So, so maybe he's going to be the surprise package and threaten Tom for all these titles.
Yeah, I think only if it's mobility scooter racing, Colin. I think that's about it.
Yeah, in the Zimmer frame tour.
Yeah, but no, I think I would like to see. I mean, if Ryan's out there, Ryan will try. You got on the shale fins up there, and I'd just love to see Matty Newsom, pin it together and be able to do a concerted effort. Yeah. If Frank can keep his engines together, you got to give Frank his due. He will. Yeah. He does take it to Tom. He gives it. He takes it off Tom. So, but obviously, I think they changed their engine something like 17 times this year. Right. So that's Frank's big letdown. I think, in all honesty, really, Tom's biggest, for Tom, I think the only person that really may take him on properly could be Ryan, if Ryan wants to. But then, it depends. Again, you can't fault Ryan and his car prep and everything, but both of them, Tom and him, have both got those fiery tempers that could end them, either of them, in trouble, couldn't they?
Yeah, definitely. I think Ryan's the one who, on shale, particularly in places like Kings Lynn and Bradford, probably he's got the pace to beat Tom. In a head-to-head. I think he's got that inside knowledge that he's gained from America, the same way that Tom has as well. I just think his car prep's, like I say, his car prep's phenomenal, and he's mega quick on shale. And obviously this year the World Championship's going to be on tarmac. I'm not sure what his plans are for that, whether he's got another car in the pipeline or not, who knows. But he's going to. I would say Matt. You'd love to see Matt win something. He's got to win something this year. I know he feels that, and we've talked about him many times before. And he desperately he so deserves to win a major title, and then so hopefully that'll happen. He'll get a European or something, or a British even, because he's good round Bradford as well.
To be honest, anything. I think he'd be happy for
anything. I know, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
I think another driver is, I mean, Ian's just mentioned everybody I've got here: Craig Finnegan, Ryan Harrison, Matt Newsom, Frankie, also Lee Fairhurst. I think Lee's got a good chance.
Yeah, I do.
I believe he's got possibly should be out on tarmac again next year with a revamp.
I would say that's sort of why. Don't discount Lee, because I think he's amazing. But without being horrible, Lee, as good as he is as a driver, and his car prep is fantastic, but budget wise, that's where you have to look as well, don't you? Really,
definitely.
If you want to be chasing the big stuff, you've got to have the budget to do it.
You do,
and I know he's done a couple of outings in Wesley's car, hasn't he? He's used that, but you can't discount Lee. I mean,
definitely.
Another one. If he put his mind to it, who's actually impressed me, is Walt Niels.
Yeah. Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Crikey, he has been. He's good. I mean, he's had the advantage of starting from blue early on, but even so, I mean, he can stick the bumper, and he's a great entertainer. Did brilliantly at Venray, didn't he? His last event out there, and he's a fair old peddler, and he'll be a force. And in fact,
it depends if he wants to play on the dirt. That's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah, but he's going to be,
it's,
it's a world finals on tarmac. If he does, if he wants to get in that,
Mm.
that there could be fireworks in that event. My goodness, can't there just?
he'll draw a shale semi, won't he?
Yeah, of course he will. That's exactly, of course he will. Well, if Tom, depending where Tom finishes in the points, he'll dictate where, he'll go for a tarmac. Well, almost certainly, I would have thought. But yeah, because most, if you're most people play safe for the semi-finals, and tarmac is the safer option, isn't it? Invariably, I think.
I think the top guys like Tom and Frank, etc. Well, all of them. If they're the one that gets to make the choice, they look and they try and put their opponent on the. So you wouldn't do it where you'd make sure that, say, you were on tarmac, but that left Ryan on shale. You'd be like, well, I can cope with shale. Let's have Ryan on tarmac.
On tarmac, yeah, definitely, absolutely, yeah. And obviously, I spoke to Craig at the Gala meeting, and I think there's a chance that he'll do tarmac a bit this next year. I think he's going to. I think he wants to do some. So, and that would be good, to get him back, back in the frame on the hard stuff.
I think there are 3 or 4 drivers who could give Tom a run for the money. Run for his money. So I don't think.
Sorry, go on.
I don't think you can pencil him in for everything at the minute. There's some good drivers out there who, on their day, have got a chance to win big.
I think we mentioned them all. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's the end of the part 1 of our Talking Stocks podcast. We'll take a short break now, where we've got a prize giveaway, which we're going to show you after this first part 1, and that is basically a competition to win a free calendar, courtesy of Colin, Casserley and Paul Bowles, isn't it?
James Bowles.
James Bowles, sorry. James Bowles, a free calendar, and on top of that, the winner will also get a free copy of either Shock and Roll or 2022, the BriSCA F1 year by yours truly. So yes, look out for that in a minute. That's basically, it's a simple quiz. The winner can then go through and, like I say, choose one of the books to go with the calendar. Okay, so we'll come back in the second half with our special guest, and that is Paul O'Neill. See you in a bit. So in this interlude, we've got a prize giveaway. Basically, all you have to do is answer a question that will come up on the screen very shortly. And if you get the answer right and you're a subscriber to the podcast, that's the important thing to remember, you will be drawn out of a hat, and you could be the owner of Shock and Roll or a BriSCA F1 year 2022 yearbook, as well as a calendar that's been made and produced by those great photographers Colin, Casserley and James Bowles. So if you want to win this prize, all you have to do is answer the following question, and then go on to the Talking Stocks Facebook page and go to Messenger and send the private message to that Messenger site with your answers. So there we go. Prize giveaway quiz. There we go. Who won the British Touring Car Invitational race at the Gala meeting? Was it A, Ricky Collard, B, Paul O'Neill, C, Adam Morgan, or D, Ryan Bensley? All you have to do when you go on Messenger is write A, B, C, or D. Don't need anything else. And also whether it's Shock and Roll or the BriSCA F1 yearbook that you would prefer. Entries must be received no later than 12 noon on December the 14th, 2023, with the winner of the prize draw announced on the Talking Stocks Facebook page the following day at 12 noon. So best of luck. Welcome back to part 2 of Talking Stocks podcast. And as you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, we've got a new guest with us, and that is Paul O'Neill. Welcome, Paul, to the Talking Stocks podcast.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for having us, boys. Good to see you all.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. It's just we've been talking in the first part just about various things that are going on with the sport, new fixture list, what we think is going to happen in 2024. But what did happen in 2023 is that obviously you took part in British Touring Car Invitational Trophy, which was an event with 12 British Touring Car drivers, something in BriSCA F1 stock cars, and you took part in that last year as well. So for those who have been stuck in a rock in the middle of the Pacific somewhere without internet access, probably for some reason don't know what happened, how did you get to come along to Skegness? What brought you along? It was to do with just a chance event, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it was last year, and I was just getting to the end of, I think I was getting to the end, or it was the middle of the TCR series, which I commentate on, which is a tin top series that goes around the UK. And I was at Snetterton, and a good friend of mine, Ryan Bensley, who races on that package in the Civics, he's mad for his stock cars, and his dad used to take him as a kid to Kings Lynn. So yeah, we were talking about it, and I said, listen, I'm up early. Is there anything we can do? And we'd not spoken about, the stock cars, because I'd driven one, but it was with Matt James, who you guys know from Motorsport.
Yeah.
But it was a long, long time ago. And I remember it was fantastic to drive the car, but it was an F2 car I drove. And so I'd not had anything to do with it. Again, I'd never been to an event. So he said, come along. So I went, and I literally just could not believe my eyes. It was like someone had opened a back door on the Truman Show, and I walked through, and there was this thing going on that I didn't have any idea about. But it was just one of the best things I'd seen all year. And I tweeted about it, put a little video on Instagram and Twitter, just because I was saying to people, you need to come and see this. If you've never seen it, you've got to see it. It's just mind blowing, which it was for me. And then that just snowballed, as some people know, and it was yourself, Neil, and Paul Hines, who Paul Hines messaged me because he followed me on Twitter, and he said, listen, mate, if you ever want to drive a car, have a go of mine. And I was like, nah, you're all right, thanks. It looks too manly, and that's something that I'm not. So I thought, I'll give that a swerve. And I was just polite to him and said, oh yeah, that'll be cool, mate, thinking nothing will come of it. And then I spoke to a few people who'd seen the tweet, and they were like, you've got to drive one. And I thought, do you know what? I should have a go if he's offering. But I didn't think anything would come of it. And then it was yourself and Paul Hines and Matt James who really started the ball rolling. And we tried to get this race to go ahead last year. And did we get 10 people doing it last year? I can't remember.
I think it was 10. It would have been 11, but Dan Rowbottom couldn't do it because he had...
Because he was scared. Because he got COVID. but no, I've got to admit, it was great, and to get that off the ground, with you guys. I mean, the effort you put in was phenomenal. All we did was turn up, but when we turned up at Skeggy, literally, I was like, it was the first time, and I'll admit this, when I got into the car, I've never had it. Well, I have. I've had it years ago when I was younger. I had like a panic attack because I literally could not believe how tight it was inside the car. And I'm quite a big guy. I've got big shoulders, but I had to control my breathing. And the last thing I needed was, everyone was lovely, but the last thing I needed was like Josh Cook, who was with us, and a few of the other lads, Ricky Collard. They're all coming in the car because they could see I was nervous. They were punching me and going, "Yeah, you're gonna die." I was like, so. But Paul and Paul's team, because Paul wasn't there at the time.
Yeah,
he wasn't there, but everybody looked after me, and it's gone from there. But I kind of feel part of the family now. And honestly, the touring car drivers, it's so funny. I had so many loads of them messaged me after the event, and were like, "Can I do it next year?" And they all say that it's the highlight of their year. Especially Josh Cook. He's had one of the worst years he's had in touring cars, and he just kept messaging me all year saying, "Can't wait till Skeggy, mate."
That's good though. It's fantastic that, I don't think, guys. I mean, it's just the fact we got this sort of support from this brilliant series, and these drivers, they all just love it, don't they? I mean, it's fantastic. What do you think, Colin?
Well, I think it's absolutely brilliant. And the first one last year, I went up to one of the drivers who was going out for his first practice session, And I said to him, "Are you looking forward to it?" I won't say who it was. He goes, "I'm shit scared, to be honest, mate."
Colin,
Who was it?
Who was it? You've got to say
I'm
who
not
it
going to
was.
tell. I'm not going to
No,
say
no,
now.
no.
Hey, Colin, was
It's
it?
just the Fight Club, you know.
I bet you it was probably Dan Rowbottom on the phone.
I think it might well have been.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not going to say who it was. That'd be unfair on them. But
we're always unfair.
He's done a couple. He's done a couple of laps, and then after that, on the pace, and he came off from that bloody hell. That was brilliant, mate. Brilliant.
Oh, that was good.
We all said the same thing. That's the thing.
I was going to throw something in there and say it was probably Rick Parfitt, but no, because Rick,
he would have been Rick, I think. Yeah, he was, and he'd already had practice the day before as well. He went out, everybody, and we cheesed off a few. Ricky Collard in particular, I think that people have gone out and had practice before they'd had a chance. But yeah, it was still great fun. I mean, you weren't able to get there. You haven't been to either the gala meetings, have you, Ian? You didn't get to.
No, I haven't. We're always doing something separate. But always watch. Obviously, I have a very close connection with Paul Hines because we do a little bit of sponsorship with Paul. And as you'll know, Neil, years ago we had Tim Harvey, Steve Parrish. We did a similar thing
Bill
at
Hoyt,
didn't we? When Vicky Butler-Henderson rolled it.
But
it's great to watch. I think they should have a proper sort of 15-lap race for them. Rather than just these little 10-lap thing. I think make a decent 15, 20-lap race for them. I think it'd be excellent. But obviously, having raced previously myself with them, they're just something that is just so different. You can never explain to people. It's not just the power, but it's just the braking, the turning in, and just the noise. And I think that's what sort of surprises people, I think, Paul, is the sort of noise of it all, isn't it? And the size of everything. Everything around you is so big, apart from the area you're sat in.
Yeah, I think to be fair as well, the one thing that I couldn't quite comprehend when I first did it, I mean, the driving of the car was just something else. I've never driven anything like it. I drove a Dodge Viper in British GT in 2008, and it reminded me a little bit of that, with all that torque and all that low down power and wheel spinning in low, at low speed. But it was just the fact that when you look at the thing, it doesn't, no disrespect, until you start it up, it doesn't look that special. And as soon as it fires up and fires into life, and you watch them, I watched the BriSCA guys going at it before our race, and I was like, I couldn't get my breath how they drove. The boys and girls are just unreal. But I think the thing that was quite interesting for us was the fans. The fans were unbelievable. They just, everybody welcomed us with open arms. Touring car people are fantastic. They're some of the best fans on earth. But the crowd and the fan base that you guys have got are they're just something special. I had my girlfriend with me and her 7-year-old daughter, and I was like, listen, this ain't going to be for Poppy. She ain't going to like this. Poppy, literally, we had to like de-weld her off the fence. It was like, she just absolutely loved it, because there was, there's dogs there, there's families there, there's girls, there's guys. It's just fantastic. And I wouldn't make my way all the way over to the other side of the country if it was going to be something boring. So, like I say, all the guys and the girls, especially, Jade, who'd not done it before, Jade Edwards, we just absolutely loved it. And we couldn't, we couldn't thank everybody enough for having us there. But like some people say to us, "Oh, thanks for coming." We were all laughing. We were like, "No, thanks for having us." So it was great. It was brilliant.
I mean, it's just, I think we just love the fact that we've got drivers from another series, a top line series, actually excited to have a go in our cars. I just think that's what thrills us, doesn't it? I think that's why there'll always be, as long as the guys want to do a British Touring Car Invitational race, there'll always be one, I think, because we always will want. Well, I know for a fact that one or two of the guys want to do. I know Ricky Collard mentioned it, and I think Bobby Thompson's up for it as well. Want to do the whole meeting? They want to, and I know that is a possibility next year. If one or two of the drivers, guys, or Jade or whoever wants to have a go for a full event, that will be an option. So I think that's fantastic if that did happen. Mind you, I think that would be a different level. I think that's will be a bit of a shock to the system a little bit.
Yeah, no, exactly. But like you say, you know, Bobby and Jade, you know, and Ricky, they're really made for it. I mean, it's difficult to adapt to, but Bobby Thompson in particular and Ricky Collard, they're special talents in their field, full stop. But they took to it like, you know, like a fish to water. And I think, you know, they wouldn't disgrace themselves. You know, they wouldn't be dead last, but they wouldn't find it particularly easy against the pros. I'll tell you what I couldn't believe was when I went out to practice for the first ever time, and I thought someone had lost the brakes and like tried to drill me through the stadium. And then I got someone come up to me and went, "Oh, did you see it when it was one of the girls? I can't remember who it was, but someone hit me in a practice session." And I literally said, "They turboed me at 30 miles an hour." and I can't remember who it was. It might have been Cookie who was watching, and he went, "Mate, she literally tapped you." She said she tapped you and she didn't even hit you hard enough to get you out the way. I think she was being polite. I was like, mate, I felt like I'd been driven straight through. I thought the car was going to snap in half like a cartoon.
I think that's one of the sort of big differences is the fact that, you know, obviously when you've raced previous stuff, you've got quite a bit of crumple before something. If you have a half crash or whatever, that you've got something that gives, haven't you? Whereas with these, it's solid. You just touch something and it just goes right through.
Yeah, I think as well, Ian, you know, the interesting thing for us, but especially myself, because I'm the elder statesman there, and maybe Dan Welsh as well will know this, that, you know, that is an art. What your boys and girls do is an art, and this is quite a statement, I suppose, for me, but because I'm all about driver standards, but that's what British touring cars used to be, because it was an art. Tim Harvey used to say in commentary when I was driving, because I was shit in qualifying, but I'd be good in a race because I knew where I could tap people. Matt Neal was brilliant at it. Plato, brilliant at it. Giovanardi, exceptional. Just hitting someone in the right place, not playing dirty, just a little tap, little slide, catch it, down the inside, job done. You expected it the next time, so it was your job to get away. It was exactly the same. And that's what I think British touring cars misses, because they've all signed up to, you know, zero contact and no push to pass. And don't get me wrong, there are some idiots who cannot push to pass and they cause thousands of pounds worth of damage, but that's what British touring car misses. And I'm glad that you guys have still got, maybe we should have follow-ins as well into British touring cars.
Don't go there.
It was a good race. So we were talking about the quality of the drivers, but the actual race was good because in the last 3 or 4 laps, there was 4 guys going for the lead, and they were pushing each other as well. They weren't, you know, they weren't hanging around. They were giving a bit of a nudge on every corner. So it's a bloody good race. And like Ian said, a few more laps I think they need next time, definitely.
Yeah, 16 lap it should be next time, I think, because you guys are just getting going at the back, and you know, particularly if it's a greasy track, you know, it takes a little while to move to the front.
Like you say, Colin, there was one line, and I know from I was starting at the back and all, and I was just catching that group in front, and I was like, it's game on. And then I just heard over the radio, it was like, great race, well done, guys. Like they were really, like everyone was really pleased with the race, but I was like, oh, another 4 laps, and I'd have definitely had a few people in the stands, and I'd have been winning. But yeah, I'm too scared. I'm too scared to hit people, because I think that they're going to have a go at me. It's just I don't like it when it all rattles and things and it hurts your hands.
But you did it last year. You gave Josh a whack, didn't you, to move up into third?
I had a long pedal, Neil.
Well, I tell you what, he actually made the race. Josh Cook did this year, because he obviously spun out early on and went a lap down when Ricky went past him, and of course he wasn't having any of that, and decided to have a bit of fun with Ricky and put him in, you know, pushed him wide. Now they sort of battle together, and because they held each other up, it meant the others could, you know, catch up, which was you know, was brilliant, really. I mean, great for you know, who won it? Who won the race?
Adam Morgan.
Adam, wasn't it? Adam, that's right.
Yeah.
I mean,
He didn't.
yeah, phenomenal for him. He'd
won.
never driven these cars before. I mean,
No.
he's a real newbie. And he did a brilliant job.
Oh, so I was at Autosport International, Autosport Awards on Sunday night.
Oh, yeah, the
seen
award show, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like introducing him to Emma, my girlfriend, and Emma was like, "Oh, I remember seeing you. You're the guy who didn't know he'd won at Skegness, aren't you?" and then he was waxing lyrical for about half an hour to Dick Bennett about how Dick Bennett's of West Surrey Racing and BMW, and he was just telling him how good it was because he'd not had a chance to speak to him. But do you know what was really good to see, and I thought it was amazing, and it shows how much we've come on, you know, as motorsport in general, was Jade Edwards and Catherine Harris.
I thought it was pictures of behind.
And the coverage, obviously, coverage that you sorted out, Neil, as well was fantastic because you know I had two girls with me, and you know, Poppy, who's 7, is very impressionable, and like she was like, "Oh my God, you know, these girls are good, aren't they?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she watched Catherine. I think she won the first heat, didn't she?
She won the under 25s championship, which is the big race for the night. Really, it was
So like, it's just great to see what, you know, what impact that, you know, the likes of Catherine and Jade Edwards, you know, have on young girls, because at the end of the day, we can't just have fellas driving around all the time. We need to. We want the sport to keep going. We need to open it up to everyone. We'll have like pit bulls and staffies driving next, won't we? To everyone.
I'll tell you what, though. I mean, Catherine is like a pit bull in the car. She's just a ruthless driver when she gets going. We were talking about her just earlier on. We think that she's due a major championship title, maybe even next year. She could grab one because she's great talent. Really is. Well, it's in the genes. I mean, her half brother, you know, Tom. He's he's a phenomenal driver, as you know. So, but were you? Because I know you weren't there for the whole of the meeting, were you? At Skeggy, I think you went off. Did you see you didn't see the final, did you? When
no,
Tom got put. You've seen the aftermath, though, haven't you? Yeah.
Yeah. So to be fair to Poppy, like, even though we did have to get her off the fence, like, Emma was really concerned about her because she'd been up for like ages, and it was getting late, so we went. And I was messaging a few of the lads because they stayed over to watch it. And I got this horrendous video. Oh my God, that was a big hit. And then I was looking at what Tom was saying on the internet, and he was like, "Yeah, broke the internet again, love it." And I'm like, "Mate, I wouldn't even want to speak after having that shunt." Like, literally, he was quite proud of being like drilled into the fence at 7.
I know it was a massive hit. It really was, but it was the talking point of the night, really. But it was just that and obviously the British touring car guys. But it was just, you know, he's this is the thing with the sport. You know, we talk about, you know, the contact side of it, and that's the thing with BriSCA F1. There is no rule. There used to be. You weren't allowed to follow in cars in the sport for various reasons, which I'll go into. It's allowed. So it makes it full on sport. I mean, you know, it really is massive. But I think that's what makes it special, though. The contact side of it is the thing. Without the contact side, it wouldn't be half the sport it is now.
Yeah, the drivers accept it, don't they? That's part of the game, and they just dust themselves down and get on with it, because, you know, if you give it to me one meeting, you're going to get it back the next. And
that's what brings the fans in, though, isn't it? That's what keeps them coming back, a bit of on-track rivalry. That's what you need.
Which is something that we want more of, something we've talked about before as well, that we don't. There hasn't been enough of that in some previous seasons, always. But now we've got Tom and Frankie Wayman Jr. They quite have a bit of a rivalry. You've got Tom and Ryan Harrison, who you haven't seen race. He wasn't there on that Sunday, and a few others were gunning to get to want to become number one because he's the dominant force. So so it should make it into an interesting year next year.
I think you need that in all sport, in all motorsport, though. You need the good guys and the bad guys. The touring cars need it as well. You need that to keep people coming back the next week to see what's going to happen.
Well, Colin, we've lost that, mate. As soon as Matt Neal left, as soon as Matt Neal left, that was a void. Jason was dropping off. He dropped off the radar a bit, race wise, and then
John McClellan back in the day.
Yeah, exactly.
With Soper,
Who is there now? I mean, Ash Sutton's great, but he's dominant. Colin Turkington's too clean. Tom Ingram, he's pushing on and trying to make himself a character. But there isn't. Someone just needs to. What they all need to do, and I can't remember who said this to me, but it did make me laugh. I think it might be someone I've been coaching in racing said to me, "It's I can't watch touring cars anymore because," and it's a shame he said this, but I do agree with a bit of it. He said it's a bit like Love Island now. Everybody just they're more concerned about how they look, and they all like kiss each other. And, well done. And it's like I even said to Tim Harvey the other day, I was like, I want someone to get out of the car and not punch someone, but I want them to be that
someone.
committed. I remember when I drove, and I'm not saying I was straight as the day's long, but there's a few times I nearly had to go to the MSA court because I throttled Rob Collard in his car. I tried to put my thumb in his eyeball. It was a stupid thing to do because he nearly broke my ribs. He punched me in the ribs in a driver's briefing. I got on with Rob, but I want to see how much it matters to people. Like your Tom Harris's and all these guys. And that's what I want to see. But that is a great rivalry that you guys have now got, and it's going to happen again, isn't it? That. So,
there'll be more.
You need emotion in motorsport. That's what it's about. And sometimes it's too clean cut, isn't it? And
too clinical. Too clinical.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, even in Formula One, they're a bit too matey, I think, these days. Everybody seems to get on so well. I mean, we need the Lewis versus Max battle to be resurrected next year if that's going to.
It's exactly that. That's all you need, and you guys have got it by in abundance. It's like you can't buy that stuff what you've got, and that's why the crowd loves to come and see it. It's proper stuff. It's I mean, I'm just a bit too emotional, to be honest. I just get fully involved. If I'm there, I'm there. I mean, all right, our race was an invitational, and I was just happy that everybody was having a great time and we could put on a show. But if I was competing, I'd be straight in there. I'd probably be getting turboed into the stands like Harris did.
Well, that's good. I mean, that's the thing. Like I say, we've got that element. We've got one or two, like say Lee Fairhurst is another one who's got a rivalry with Tom, which will carry on next year. I should think there's a picture here. That's from the World Final with Lee Fairhurst barging Tom wide on the opening laps, trying to basically it was win or bust, and it was bust as it turned out for Lee that day. But it's what sport's all about. So with we've done this now, for a couple of years. Hopefully, we'll carry on doing it for the foreseeable future as well. I mean, would you see any other drivers coming in? We could see one or two others. Hopefully, make it for next year, maybe.
Definitely. It definitely. I mean, the drivers that we've got at the minute, who they're big names. To be fair,
I know they are. It's
a
good mix as well.
Yeah, it's a good mix. They're not tail end Charlies, and they're not people who they all get on. They have respect. But to be fair to them, I know this is funny actually. I know that I know from following them, I knew what was going to happen. But Thompson and Josh Cook, I mean, they don't get on that well, and it was so
Is that
funny.
right? I didn't know that. Oh, really?
Yeah. I kind of knew what was going to happen in front of me. That's why I just went wide every time when they were spinning.
All right.
But, there's a few of them that don't like each other because we've got a big group with you in it, Neil, and Paul.
I know.
And also Matt James. So we were laughing because the drivers kept messaging me going, yeah, but he's a bit of a bell end him, and I'm going to do this to him, and I'm going to do that. And I was like, I'm staying out of this because I just like to keep my powder dry and then just fire them when they don't know it's going to happen.
That's the right plan. Definitely
exactly.
Right plan.
But it was. I can see. I was getting loads of messages off people because they watch it, and it's amazing how the team managers who were seen from British touring cars, they were all saying, "Oh, I've seen you were doing the BriSCA," and everybody knows about it. And people watch and they're interested. So I think it's great. It will only get bigger, but I mean, I think it was my fault really that I didn't want to pester Paul. And Paul had his shunt, hadn't he? So he thought he was Max Verstappen's dad, didn't he, or something?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So he didn't know what was going on. So we were a bit like, oh God. And Josh was like, I hope he's all right. And I was like, yeah, of course I do. But it was my fault. I really didn't push it enough. But the people we did get, I asked them once.
Yeah.
once I asked them.
You didn't have to nag them, did you?
No, I didn't chase no one, and then we had to bat some people away, didn't we? Because we were too busy. But I can see people wanting to get involved next year, and yeah,
Good.
definitely.
That's brilliant.
It's great. But honestly, you guys, it's a pleasure. You know, everyone. Emma summed it up. She said, she said, as a woman, there's some places I don't feel very welcome, and BriSCA F1 and the stock cars in general is not one of them. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah, she was cool. She loved it. Everybody loved it, and if she's happy, I'm happy. So it's good.
Yeah, of course, yeah, absolutely. Happy wife, happy life, as they say. Well, she's not your wife, but you know what I mean. But so yeah, I know you've got to go soon, but I just wanted to quickly say you what was also great is the fact that you guys chipped together for the mini stocks as well to give them the final winners are going to be invited to an event at the touring car series next year, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's a work in progress right at the minute. Actually, it's happening. So, what we wanted to do, we were pestering Paul and you about what we can do. We were going to get some trophies for the mini stocks kids, and I wanted it to be about the youngsters, if I'm honest. Because the grown-ups can look after themselves at the end of the day, can't we? So I said, what can we do? And between yourself and Paul, we come up with a plan that we'll give them hospitality, the top three of the final of the night, and I've spoken to the three lads' dads, and it looks like we're going to try and get them all together because I want to get them all in the RDC because it'll be special, and then get them around the cars and come and meet some of the drivers who maybe they've not met before, and just try and make it a day to remember for the families because at the end of the day, these kids are putting it on the line, and I think they should be rewarded. And if that's something they like, then we'd love to do it. So they're all going to come to a race next year, whether it's individually or BRDC at Silverstone. Just waiting for your fixtures to come out. I think that's what the plan is.
Yeah, exactly. The mini stocks fixtures, because they'd be slightly different from the F1s. But well, that's great.
That is a fantastic gesture, and on behalf of all the stock car community, thanks for doing that for us. I appreciate it.
Been brilliant.
No problem,
mate.
I'm
only 12, honestly.
We'll have it. Ian, we'll have you sat in Josh Cook's car, mate. I'll get you some pictures.
And so, what about you? You're going to be you've got your headline act as well, aren't you, for the Autosport Show? You're going to be hosting the main stage, aren't you? I think so. That's going to be a pretty special event for you.
Yeah, I think these people from Autosport and other people that I think they've got me mixed up with Matt Neal. They think I'm a big so yeah, we've done a deal. We've done a deal to do the live stage, which on the Saturday I think it is. So a lot of touring car stuff happening.
Yeah,
but obviously Richard and Helen are going to be there, aren't they, in the live event?
Yeah.
So they'll be doing
collector. Yeah.
So they'll be doing their thing. So I'll see them. So that's great, and it seems to be moving forward for myself. So I'm very privileged as usual. But yeah, it's going to be good to catch up with everyone from stock cars at Autosports. That'll be good. And also we got Motorsport with Attitude as well. That's early. I think it's January or February. It's usually February
normally, isn't it? Yeah, and you're going to be there for that. Is that right?
Yeah. So we've spoken to Dave Rennie, and we're going to sort out going ahead with that. So that should be happening. And yeah, so I think the two worlds are colliding a lot more than they ever used to.
Yeah,
Tin box and stock cars. So it's
I
always a good
agree.
thing.
Yeah, it sounds fantastic. I agree. It does seem that way. It does definitely seem that. Yeah, our two worlds are definitely, there's a synergy there, definitely, and it's working well. Well, look, thanks ever so much, Paul, for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on, and we'll catch up soon, mate.
Yeah, definitely. Anytime, fellas. And thanks, Colin, for your pictures, mate. Really appreciate them. They were super. You made me look like a right hero. Cheers.